I'm Kalle Sirkesalo. I work at Eficode. So we have a change of plans, so Sonatype couldn't make it, but thanks for Sonatype for making this event possible. Some of my slides should have Sonatype products, but I didn't have a demo environment of Sonatype up and running at the moment, so I had to take some other vendors' pictures, but they have the same products and so on. So please discuss, I'm happy to tell about those also. I'm Kalle Sirkesalo. I have worked at Eficode for 4.5 years, and I'm leading the operations of Eficode Root. We have about 17 people in 3 locations in my team. I used to work in games, and now I've been working in consulting and as a youngster. So from the normal age of 9-year-old, I started doing bookkeeping and working on different companies at the farm side. So yeah, I guess that's a normal age to start working in Finland. Yeah. So then I made this slide about what is DevSecOps because I know what has come and what has been done. I will not talk about compliance because Jukka was already talking about it, and I will not talk about DevOps that much because Mikael was talking about that already. So I made this quick slide about DevSecOps, and for me, it's another trend for managers and so on to make you go to DevOps. Basically, as the last one says, it's required to do requirement for DevOps to like practices for you to do DevSecOps. Your team has to care about their security to be able to work fast. If you have a 6-month audit period, like Mikael was talking about, that's going to slow down every deployment by 6 months unless you start automating at least partial amount of it. Basically, it aims to educate people about the static analysis processes, the security processes, and guide people more about, hey, you should add this to your pipeline, and this is how you do it. It's a good way of reminding us that, hey, we should pick the low-hanging fruits from security easily. It doesn't remove the security audits, but if you want to remove those, there is a DevOps way of doing it. It's to go to these nice web pages where you can order a hack to yourself. And it's pretty cheap. It costs like 100 euros. And if they can manage to hack you, you pay them 100 euros and you know now how they hack you. Easy way to test security. A lot faster than any other way. And you don't have to figure out how the tools work. You can add basic security testing frameworks like SAP, etc., CA proxy or comparable or WASP tools, but to configure them to do everything is very time consuming and requires still the security team. So I recommend using them to pick the low hanging, but it does not solve the security. It just helps you to not get these, hey, your headers are wrong. Hey, you should have these binaries removed because they are vulnerable. It removes all the easy pickings for the auditors, and then they have to actually start hacking your stuff. So it makes it a lot faster to get through the basic audit things. So that's my view on DevSecOps. So the first part of it, I wasn't thinking about this when I typed the root security document for our customers. But then Jukka came to me and told me that, hey, code reviews are actually security practice because you're checking what the other people are doing, you're sharing the information, you're going through the code and figuring out what's the problem here. And we'll come back to how they become the most important thing about this. But the idea is that you're checking out that nobody is pushing, in banking, for example, you're checking out that nobody is pushing a code segment there that would move all your money to their account. You're doing it because you're working on the same code base. Everybody's working together in the same ideology. And then, when you have code reviews and the practice in place, you start automating around it. So you should have some checks, and you should actually look at what's going to be happening. You should be seeing at least your CI run, and if nothing else, you should check that can this be merged and does help in performance. Yeah. So then I added the CI test low-hanging fruits, which is just add to the test CI, something like CA proxy or comparable, You can find a good video from Eficode a few years back, or you can go to online and look at how to set these things up. They're very simple to get the first analysis that, hey, your headers are wrong, hey, you're doing this wrong, and that's already more than what your developers are thinking about. It's very time-consuming to get everything correct, but if you have this basic level, at least you don't have to think those through after the audit. So then we get to the actual good stuff, so the actual DevSecOps. So we go to the code static analysis. How many of you are using something like SonarQube, or if you're doing any kind of static code analysis tool? So about 50% of the audience. So the idea is you take any static analysis tool. So SonarQube is just a good example because it has a variety of supports and pretty good UI. And you start doing analysis on, is this code good based on global metrics? They are not perfect metrics, and some of these might be on red on your code, and it's okay because your code might be not fitting to that standard because of some library that you are using. For example, JavaScript Pro had a long time a problem with certain things in React, so you have to go and remove those things from your quality gate. So you need to tune this bit based on your code base. But the idea is that you get someone else's view on, hey, we should fix this. Hey, we have bugs. We have these known bugs. Hey, we have a known vulnerability thing. Like, for example, our demo king has a known static code vulnerability known add a request mapping to annotation. So we have a method parameter that has a problem. And this also tries to detect something like hard-coded passwords, or hey, you have other kind of hard-coded things that should not be. You're using classes as globals, don't use classes as globals. And then you can figure out, hey, this is not an issue, or this is an issue. So you get this feeling that, hey, these things should be this way, but we are not doing them correctly. Or then you're like, okay, but this is not something that fits to us, let's move it to not affecting us. So very easy way to get low-hanging fruits away from the code. Very easy way to figure out, are we completely screwed when the security audit comes to? Or is the code at least somewhat upkeepable? Yes, these metrics are not perfect, but nothing is in this life if you try to automate it. Then we go to static binary analysis. So here would be Sonatype's Nexus if I had one demo environment, but this is from our demo environment. We have the root demo running here. So it's pretty bad code. It has a vulnerability in SonarQube, and it has a vulnerability in static binary analysis. I have to tell Mika about this. It's a horrible thing. Like, he clearly doesn't know how to code. And basically, what the idea is that you connect this or the Nexus IQ or Nexus firewall to your binary management. How many of you use binary management at the moment? Okay, so that's about 30% of, that was 3% of the room. I recommend doing binary management. So if you don't know what that is, you should really put something like Artifactory in front of the pipeline, so that every time you go to internet to get those packages, it's proxied. It makes the builds faster, and it also makes you know what are you using for the dependencies. Then additionally, you can store your binaries there, and we get in a bit why you need that, but and reuse them. It also allows you to share those binaries and keep using the same binaries, because you shouldn't be rebuilding the binary every time you take it to another environment. You should be bringing the same binary from the first time master is being built to production. Because if you keep rebuilding it, it's not the same binary. What are you testing in staging? What are you testing in production? It's not the same binary that you just tested. Yeah, you change something, but the idea is that everything that changes is the configurations. Nothing in the code keeps changing after you push it to the first staging or test or whatever is your first environment to go live. Because you're changing configurations on those, not code. If you need to change code, then you need to start changing your way of working. So now that you have all your code in binary management, you know what binaries you have, and you can map those to a security analysis. You can start doing analysis based on what binaries you have before and after. So compared to SonarQube that does the analysis when you build the code and shows you these are the vulnerabilities at the moment, the idea behind static binary analysis is that it keeps following the binaries. So we have all the time recent vulnerabilities. It fetches from internet. You need an internet for this, sorry. The vulnerabilities. And you know all the time what affects you. What kind of problems do you have? Do we have to do something for our code? Do we have to change some dependency? And in the age of Docker, how many of our Docker images are currently screwed? Like, you have 100 microservices, and you are using 1,000 Docker images, let's say it that way. How do you know which one of them are affected with this vulnerability? Yeah, you don't. You have to have something automated. Yeah?
That's on the other hand bad thing about these tools as well, as it shows on the middle of the screen there, you have 1,000 components and 553 violations.
Yes, that's why you have to tune them to be...
It's becoming a little bit messy then.
Yes, that's why we only have the high ones here. But the idea is that if we would have configured everything to the letter, it would show us just what we are actually following. This is tuned to be a demo, so it follows everything, and it makes everything high, because otherwise I couldn't have found any static binary violations. So I made it find Jackson data bind version vulnerability and made that severity high. So I have a JSON file formatting thing in Maven that is a problem. It follows it through from the Docker image to the Maven file itself. And it can tell me at that point that, hey, I actually have a vulnerability. After this, you basically just figure out, okay, these are the images that we want to upgrade. You don't have to upgrade everything. Like if you know that these are not vulnerabilities that affect you, you just make it this in the UI, hey, this is not affecting us, please go away. So basically, you need to do some work. And then, for the management, you put something like reports going on. What are your top vulnerabilities? What has been your trend lately? And showing them where are you going. So trying to show them that, hey, our security is going upwards or downwards. And where do we need to invest more money or less money? And where do we need to base the money? And you can make choices that, hey, these are our actually biggest problems. Let's start working on upgrading these. And then most of these tools have a license report. So if you're a big company, you probably don't know what licenses you have. I was sitting in a diner with Atlassian's DACH region, so German region, one of their partner channel managers. And he was telling me that he has this way of getting free lunches. He goes to the customers, bigger customers purchasing, and makes a bet. I pay the lunch if you know 40% of your Atlassian licenses, and you pay me if you don't know. And so far he has paid 0 lunches himself. That's the status of Atlassian licenses that you're paying for. You don't want to know what's your status in your code libraries, but you probably should. Then you should integrate it all together. I have a demo also, so I'm trying to make it to that far. So you integrate all of it together. So you should bring the SonarQube thing, you should bring the binary management thing, your code review. So you should have the CI run there already. You should have the SonarQube analysis, and you should have the artifact analysis there. So when the developer pushes the pull request forward, It does all of this and tells you, yeah, this code is not going live. Like, hey, please fix these things, and then he can be, okay, yeah, I should fix those. And all of these tools allow you to do things that automate for you. So that's my slides. And now, if I get everything working, I should be able to show you a bit. So I'll start from there. Start code analysis. So this is what it looks like in UI. And here we can see the vulnerabilities, and we can mark them, hey, this person should do it, and we can see more information about them. Idea being that you can know what's going on. This can be automated to your CI by installing a build breaker, for example. It's not recommended, but you can automate the quality gate following your CI pipeline and make it so that if your quality gate, in my case, it would break. If my code doesn't fill these things, so coverage should be shouldn't be less than 80%. Duplicate lines maximum of 3%, and maintainability ratio, reliability and security has to be A. I can tune all of these, but then I know where I'm aiming. So you run the first analysis and you realize where you are, and you make that your baseline. You don't want to go below that. And then when you start rising it, you can start rising these quality gates. But at the beginning, you're probably not here. At the beginning, you're somewhere, for one customer, I'm trying to turn this to 0, and I turn this to D for the CI to run. They did have good sense of duplicate lines, but the idea behind it is that you have to tune these based on your code base. Okay, then I'm going to need my phone. So then we have the artifactory side. So this is the binary side. So you can see the binaries and so on. Easy way of seeing the Docker images that we have been storing here and their status and so on. And I can see the Docker info, so I can see what is in those images and so on. But that's pretty not security related. So we have another service called X-Ray, which uses the same credentials, so auto-login, where we can see the vulnerabilities. So, for example, root demo latest, and we can see where the number comes from. We're using the same library quite often. So if I would go here, and I would define that, hey, actually let's make it so that this violation that we are seeing is not actually a problem. So let's go to this component, and let's see the security problem. It comes from the version number, so I should be upgrading the version. And we have here. So it's a bit hard because I'm stretching my neck. But yeah, this is the security vulnerability side. Then we can automate those things. So when we make these listeners here, we can define what's our what do we define as a security vulnerability. So we can define that, hey, I have defined that everything in CVS score 5 or over will be called to our CI, and we are generating a violation. So almost everything generates a violation that's somewhat mediocre. I could also go with this and define that, hey, just make high security vulnerabilities something. And then you can trigger webhooks, notify email, or block download and fail a build. So if you have a artifactory already bound to your CI, You can just add a tab here, and every build that has a security vulnerability will start failing. You can rotate around it, but the idea being that, hey, let's not get this binary if we have a problem. Okay, and that's my time so far. Questions? I had a towel for the man here because he asked me a good question already. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was told that I should not play baseball. Yes?
What's the difference between the SonarQube side and the X-ray? So do you do the SonarQube in the CI and the X-ray later, or?
Both of those happen in the CI, but the SonarQube is meant for the code. So it does an analysis based on your code and fetches the data and makes an estimation based on how you're coding. So it tells you about white space errors or something like that also. But the X-ray / Nexus IQ does it based on the binary. So it scans the binary for vulnerabilities that it knows. So it basically tells you how things happen. You also get a towel. I was told to zero of them away. Yes?
What was the competing application you were?
So Sonatype's Nexus IQ. Actually, it has a better reports. So I like its reports a bit better because it makes them look a bit more visual. But their website is pretty hard to find the pictures of the product. So I couldn't find do you remember, is it in the firewall or is it in the...
To be honest, by heart, no.
Yeah, because it's they don't really put the screenshots up in the internet, and I didn't have an instance that is not a customer instance running, so I couldn't show you the pictures. And I got to know this morning that I'm speaking here, so sorry, I didn't have time to install the tools. But yeah, this is also something we are very happy to demo you with a bit more time. Like 4 more hours would have been good if this had been an evening thing.
Any examples of those $100 hacking services?
What was it called? Does anybody remember it was something like Blackwatch or something. I had one, like it was in the Hacker News. They were telling about how their company does, how few companies in the public do it, in the US for example, and they were like, yeah, this is the easiest way for us to automate all the security. It costs less than anything else. If you give us the CV, your card, I can send you one.
Okay.
Yes.
One more question here.
Yep.
So do you know any statistics about how this is used? Is it like 10% or 5% or like in production environments?
So
you still have a long way to go.
The tools themselves.
The tools and to get this involved in the up area.
It's very easy to integrate these tools. They are not using any production resources because they are integrated to your CI pipeline. So you just add a server, 2 servers basically, one for SonarQube and one for the X-ray, and you integrate those to your CI pipeline. And it doesn't eat your production resources because it's in your pipeline. And that way you avoid all of these problematic things that our DevOps pipeline in production is slower. So it eats it's a bit slower to run your CI pipeline, about 10 seconds. And if you have a very big code base, then 1 minute. So it might be a horrible thing, so I recommend that you don't do it. If you do want instant feedback and you're just doing build and unit tests at your pull request, then add it to your master when you merge master at the beginning.